Hello everyone, I welcome you all to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to start fourth module, which is having several chapters: IEEE 802.11, Virus Local Area Network Security. Second chapter is about viruses, worms, and other malware. Next chapter is about firewalls, intrusion prevention and detection, and web service and security. So totally we are having 5 chapters. So in this lecture, we are going to discuss Module 4 with its first chapter, that is IEEE 802.11 Wireless Local Area Network Security. So 802.11 is the standard specified by IEEE body, which is about the wireless local area networks. Now, wireless networks present formidable challenges in the area of security. The wireless networks are said to be they are having a open nature characteristic. The meaning of open nature here is, so there may be chance that someone can easily snip the packets, means they can modify the packets or inject malicious packet into the packet. They can add, delete. So packet sniffing is said to be a practice of gathering, collecting, and logging some information, or logging open packets that pass through a computer network, regardless of how the packet is addressed. In this way, every packet or a defined subset of packets may be gathered for further analysis. So if you are as a network administrator, you can use the collected data for a wide variety of purposes like monitoring bandwidth and traffic. But if such packet sniffing is made by an attacker or packet analysis is made by an attacker, definitely it will be a problem. With these things in mind, so the ease with which the packets, sorry, with which such attacks are launched necessitates careful design and deployment of security protocols for wireless networks. So let us have the background. We already aware there are two types of networks: wired networks and wireless network. In the wired network, many organizations, the wired network is an Ethernet LAN with an existing security infrastructure that includes an authentication server. So now it is able to take requests from their clients. Now there is a server called RDS, which stands Remote Authentication Dial in User Service server, that is able to bring out the functionality in the form of AAA, that is about the authentication, authorization, and accounting. So this RDS server is able to have the authentication and authorization, that is telling about the restricts in the usage of the resources, and that is about the access privileges and accounting information such as the validity time period for the session establishment, etc. So such kind of functionalities are provided by this radius server. Now moving to next one is a category called wireless local area networks. So there are two principal types of wireless local area networks. The first one is ad hoc networks, and second one is infrastructure wireless local area networks. The ad hoc networks base stations, possibly mobile nodes, which communicate directly with each other, whereas in case of infrastructure wireless local area networks, which use an access point to communicate. So where there will be a fixed infrastructure will be used in case of the infrastructure wireless local area network. So uh, there definitely we are going to use the access points, whereas in case of the ad hoc networks we are not using an access points. So the next diagram is indicating the infrastructure wireless local area network, where we are able to see two basic service sets. So it is consisting several mobile nodes, and they are using the access points. And again you can consider another basic service set, basic service set 2. They are using one access points, two nodes. Both of these access points can be connected through a wide local area network. And now there we are going to place a radius server on the wide local area network. Here in the infrastructure wide wireless local area networks, a station first sends a frame to an access point and then AP delivers it to its final destination. The destination may be another wireless station or it may be a station on the wired network that the AP is connected to. The AP is thus serves as a bridge between the wireless local area network and the existing wired network. A network of wireless stations associated with an AP is referred to as basic service set. As I told, such a network may be adequate for home or small enterprise. However, in a large building or campus, all stations may not fall in the range of single AP. It will be necessary to have several APs to cater to the stations dispersed over a set of buildings. The union of such basic service sets comprise an extended service sets. As in wired local area networks, each station and AP in the ESS is uniquely identified by a MAC address, which is a 48-bit quantity. In addition, each AP is also identified by a service set identifier, that is SSID, which is a character string of length at most 32 characters. A wireless station on power up needs to first discover an AP within its range. This can be done by monitoring the wireless medium for a special kind of frame called a beacon, which is periodically broadcasted by the access point. The beacon usually contains the service set ID of the broadcasting AP. Alternatively, a station may send a probe request frame which probes for APs within its range. An AP on hearing such a request responds with a probe response frame. Like the beacon, the probe response frame contains the service set identifier of the AP and also information about its capabilities, supported data rates, etc. To become part of the wireless local area network, a station will have to associate with an access point, that is AP. At any point in time, a station can associate with only one AP. This relationship is recorded by the wired network. That way, if a frame from the wired network is destined for a wireless station, it can be dispatched to the AP with whom the wireless station is associated. A station that wishes to associate with an AP sends it an associate request frame. The AP replies with the associate response frame if it accepts the request for associating with it. Before association, 802.11 requires the station to authenticate itself to the AP. So here, this will happen with the infrastructure wireless local area network. There we are going to use an access points between the stations for their transmission. Now, it is said there are the protocols which are used uh, in the field of infrastructure wireless local area network. The earliest protocol that incorporated security in wireless fidelity was WEP. Its expansion is Wired Equivalent Privacy, which is designed to provide authentication, access control, data integrity, and confidentiality, and it is failed on all three counts. And next is Wi-Fi Protected Access, that is WPA. WPA was indexed to fix the shortcomings of WEP without requiring new wireless network cards. WPA is not perfect. It's too susceptible to attacks on its cryptographic algorithms. And now we are having the next version, that is the protocol as WPA2, that is Wi-Fi Protected Access with version 2. Here all the deficiencies in WEP have been addressed in the IEEE 802.11i, which is wireless LAN standard specified by IEEE, which is implemented in WPA. So WPA 2 version have overcome the deficiencies presented with the WPA version 1. So let us have the authentication. So there are Here we are going to discuss the authentication with respect to WEP protocol. There is a preliminary version of the WEP protocol, pre-WEP authentication. It is having several drawbacks. An attacker could easily snip the value of SSID from frames such as the beacon or probe response and then use it for authentication. Another approach was to restrict admission to the WLAN by MAC address. The AP would maintain a list of MAC addresses, access control list of stations permitted to join the wireless local area network. Valid MAC addresses could be obtained by snipping the wireless media. The attacker could then modify his network card to spoof a valid MAC address. So neither of these approaches was truly secure. So we are having authentication in WEP. In wired equivalent privacy protocol, the station authenticates itself to the AP using a challenge response protocol. Basically, the AP generates a challenge, which is a random integer, and sends it to the station. The station encrypts the challenge and sends it to the AP. The stream cipher algorithm such as RC4 is used for encryption, and the response from the station must be the station computed computing a key stream, which is a function of a 40-bit shared secret S and a 24-bit initialization vector. So there will be a 40-bit shared secret can be used, that will be combined along with the initialization vector for the key stream value, and now it will be XORed with the challenge sent by that other party. It will be considered as a response. Now the response together with the initialization vector is sent by the station to the AP. Then the shared secret S is common to all the stations authorized to use WLAN. Now we'll have authentication and key agreement in 802.11, which uses a 802.1x, a protocol that supports authentication with the link layer. There are three entities are involved: supplicant, authenticator, and authentication server. Supplicant is the wireless station, authenticator here is an access point, and authentication server. Different authentication mechanisms and message types are defined by Extensible Authentication Protocol, in short EAP, standardized by IETF. EAP is not really an authentication protocol but rather a framework upon which various authentication protocols can be supported. EAP exchanges are mostly comprised of requests and responses. EAP, for example, one party requests the ID of another party. The latter responds with its username or email address. EAP also defines messages that may contain challenges and responses used in authentication protocols. The EAP broadcasts its security capabilities in the beacon or probe response frames. The station uses the associated request frame to communicate its security capabilities. 802.11i authentication takes place after the station associates with an AP. So we'll discuss the authentication and master session key exchange in 802.11i in the next lecture. Thank you.